Hi there, this is Pamela Price. I'm the owner of Priceless Beauty and spray tan artist and educator. And I wanted to walk you through some different variations of Fuji spray tan guns. So that way, when you are thinking of upgrading or switching over to Fuji or purchasing a new gun, this might help you to understand the different features. And yeah, hopefully this helps you out. So first we'll kind of go by like the cheapest and then move up to the most expensive gun. One of them I don't have on my site right now. We're just doing some updates, which will be probably by the time you watch this. So I'm just going to go straight to the Fuji website to show you. So this is the 7400 applicator right here. Now this one is a fully plastic gun, and you can see the cup is quite large. So this is a gun that I specifically only use for two different options. One is pre and post spray, and the other is for competition or extremely high volume spray tanning where you're doing like 20 plus spray tans like back to back. Okay, so upside to this gun is that it's very cheap, $1, I believe, Canadian, and this is very lightweight, so it's great for doing high volume, and it is a very smooth application, which is good for pre and post spray. However, it has been known to be a little leaky, even brand new. So for competition shows, we actually wrap a sock around the entire cup, which I know is not ideal, but it's the only cup that I found that has the ability to carry this much solution. So for pre-post, I have no issues. It hasn't been like leaky or anything like major like that. And plus you're only using it for a couple of seconds, but it's not a gun that I would recommend using day to day for spraying clients. So it's kind of like a special occasion gun and isn't something that I recommend using regularly. Okay, just to be fully transparent and honest with you. And then I'm going to go to this Fuji spray tan gun. I have it on here. Again, it's something that I use for pre and post spray. I personally didn't love it because of the applicator style. So you can see here that the trigger is actually on the top, which you actually have to use like this motion from the top, and I feel like it's just really hard to adjust this way. It is designed as a quote unquote contour gun. I personally think the other Fuji guns have great settings and work better as a contour gun. That's my opinion. So I have it, and this one actually just sits in my drawer as a backup. And to be honest, I don't really use it. I'm not the biggest fan. It is available. I have seen some people that like to use it. It's not my personal preference. Okay, so we're moving up to, I guess this would be the next guy if we're going in terms of price. So this is the 7350 applicator. This is kind of like the OG. I have 3 of these guns. I have my original one, which is probably from like 8 years ago. So it is a good classic starter gun. It is pretty heavy, not gonna lie. So if you have a bad wrist or if you are doing high volume, it's not the ideal, but it does spray really beautifully, and it's kind of like the OG, so it definitely works. You're creating great results. Don't really have many leak issues. What can I say about this? Nothing like major. It's just maybe not as aesthetic as some of the other ones, but it's a great starter gun. And I definitely recommend if you're looking kind of to start on a slightly cheaper price point, then this is kind of going to be your most affordable while still creating the beautiful results. It does have the option to do these kind of like more defined or contour settings. It's not as great as some of the other guns, but it does have the contour. So like that pattern control at the back here, your flow control, and of course, like your regular metal trigger. Okay, I would say that this one maybe requires like a little bit more cleaning. It's kind of like bulkier, and I find like this area gets like a little bit rusty like over time if you're not maintaining it properly. So it requires a tiny bit more maintenance, but not really. It's definitely a good gun. I would rate it like an 8 out of 10. Okay, so it's a great starter gun. Okay, so we're moving up. In regards to metal guns, and really just to tell you the difference between a metal gun versus a plastic gun. So you can see the body of this gun is all metal. Now, the metal functions tend to create a smoother application than the full plastic guns. So that first one that I showed you is a full plastic gun, and some of the other brands and those kind of cheaper entry-level guns are plastic. Even though some of the interior components will be metal, the body of the whole gun and the trigger is plastic. So this one is primarily, other than like the cup, is going to be all metal. So it is still on the slightly heavier side, but I want to say it feels a little bit lighter weight and more sleek than the previous gun that I showed you. So this one is kind of like the upgraded version of the last gun. This one has a slightly more advanced contour setting, so it gets more refined. One thing, a little complaint that I have about this one is this little tube on this side. If the gun was flipped around, you'd be able to see it better. Sometimes this part just needs to be adjusted, because originally I found my finger was kind of like, you can see where this place is like almost right beside the trigger. So you have to, and it's a simple fix, but it's something that you have to just be mindful of. You have to just use this little piece here and twist it over, and that will just adjust the direction of the little tube here. So that's something that I just found was kind of annoying. It's an easy fix, but if it's not tight, it can kind of like flop back down. So you might need to tighten this with the tool that comes with it. Easy fix, but kind of in the way, in my opinion. But the application is my absolute favorite. So smooth, so even. I never really get any issues with it like spurting or anything like that. So this is my personal favorite metal gun. Again, the metal is always going to be a little bit heavier, but this is my favorite. You can definitely do contouring with this gun if you choose. Yeah, I like it. Fan favorite. This one I would rate like a 9.5 out of 10. So this one is probably my favorite go-to in terms of metal guns for sure. Okay, so now we're going to dig into the newest gun. And I'm going to do a shameless plug here, because I was actually part of helping the development of this gun. The Fuji team sent their crew over to my place and watched me spray, talked about a bunch of different features that I loved or didn't love about the different guns, and I was kind of helping to kind of create feedback with the creation of this gun. So I'm hoping that some of my feedback has been helpful. One of the things you'll see is there's no exterior tube, so it doesn't get in the way, which is great. And one less piece that you kind of have to replace, which is nice. It has two different cup sizes, like a mini cup size and then your traditional. I personally just still like the traditional. That's just my preference. You can get more sprays out of it. I also carry multiple guns and multiple cups, and all of my cups are labeled the specific solution type. So I'm not having to be pouring one solution out of one cup and into the other. So I find that because this one has a different straw size, that kind of internal component that picks up the solution, I don't want to have to switch that because it's messy. So I personally use this one. So you can't see on this picture. However, there's a way more easier to understand process for choosing your spray pattern and your flow. So it's like a no-brainer. It has like a little dial with like little indicators of like a tight flow, a medium, and an open flow. Same thing on the back. It's just a lot easier to use and figure out, especially for new people who don't quite understand just feeling it out. So it's like, okay, just put it on this one and it's good to go. So it's actually a really great starter gun. However, it still applies very, very smoothly, extremely smooth. So the body is durable plastic, but the components are metal. So it's kind of like a fusion between a plastic and a metal gun, way lighter, like the lightest of all of the guns, which is fantastic. I will say two small things, honest feedback. The trigger is not quite as seamless or smooth as the metal triggers. It still sprays really great. I would say slightly on the lighter side. Even if you adjust the airflow, it still sprays a little bit lighter. So be mindful of that. You might need to spray a little slower, closer to the body, or do kind of like 1.5 applications. So like layer it up if you're looking to get like more saturated results. The other thing I found is this attachment is not part of the gun, so you can take it on and off. I don't like that because the way that I hook my guns up in my tanning room, I pull them off, and occasionally I've pulled the gun off separate from this. And I know it's just like a me thing. It's just a personal preference. It still connects properly. I just have accidentally pulled them separate before, and I've like dropped the gun a couple times as a result of this. So I wish it was connected physically, like permanently, and it doesn't come off just the way my personal setup, the way I hook my guns up and hang them up in my space. So it was just like a little bit of a learning curve for me because I just automatically grab it this way. So I have to hook it onto a separate section so I don't accidentally pull it off and drop it on the floor, basically. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It comes like with the whole kit, a little cleaning, different settings here in regards to like options for gun sizes and all these different things. So I think it's a really great gun if you're looking for something that's lightweight and has like the newest features and it's more aesthetic. So it's a really cool gun. So I would say if you're looking to kind of like have a variety of different options, then this would be a great option for you for sure. And it's the newest and most advanced gun on the market right now. So give it a shot. I've heard really great feedback from other people. I haven't had any issues with it other than that situation, which is kind of like a user issue, right? So yeah, that's my feedback about the different guns. So personal fan fave would be the 4200 if you're looking for a really solid, heavy duty, great quality. If you're looking for something still creating beautiful results, lighter weight would be the plastic one. So of course, you kind of get what you pay for. The more expensive ones create slightly, better results, but ultimately the Fuji guns are a great quality, and they also have really good customer service. They're located, we actually have like the manufacturer and head office in Toronto, which is great if you're Canadian and local. However, there are suppliers in the US as well, so you can kind of get it anywhere. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me, but I hopefully think that was going to be really helpful for you. Take care.